It's a big honor for us to be here for a lot of reasons. My dad worked for Lockheed for 28 years, and he worked on Milstar, which some of you might use, the satellite that I think is still running up in the sky. And my son is going to be a New York City police officer, and he tells me about the work that you guys do to help police departments and others deal with the kinds of threats that we see on the news every day. Let me get my slides going because somebody touched them. So we're about to see a new world arrive, and it's a world of augmented reality and artificial intelligence. You guys know this, but what's coming is, and the reason we're here, we're from the consumer world. We're not from your world. So they're very closely aligned, and it's interesting to come here and learn about your world and what you're doing. And it's interesting to bring what I do around the world and what Shel does around the world to you. And what I'm seeing is augmented reality is huge. Yesterday, Apple just announced a lot of things. Facebook 3 weeks ago announced a lot of things in AR. Snap and other companies are coming hard. What's going on is this a device on my face, and I'll take it off so you can see me, is a Microsoft HoloLens. You can play with some of them in the hall after our talk. But what's going on is these things are shrinking, and they're bringing really interesting new capabilities. So let's dig in. When you're wearing a device like this, your world can be mixed. Reality can be mixed. Aliens can shoot holes in your walls and come toward you, and you can shoot them with your hands. Or you can go to Saab in Australia and study how they're building the same kind of technology for the aircraft fleets around the world. They showed me a system for the HoloLens where an admiral can sit on the deck of an aircraft carrier and see the entire battlefield, and if a plane is flying by, he can see what that plane is all about. Everything in our world is about to start getting augmented. In other words, virtual things are going to appear on top of playing cards and books and all sorts of things in our world. And yesterday, Apple showed off how this is going to work. It's pretty interesting. So what gives us the credibility to say that? I've been going around the world since a long time. My first interview for this book was done in 2006 at Stanford University, where a group of nerds showed me a camera that was designed for DARPA to take pictures through bushes. That now is the Litro camera company, and they're building a light field camera for this new world coming. Shel, can you introduce us a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, hi, I'm Shel. Yeah. 13 years ago, I wanted to write a book, and Robert Scoble was the fifth person I asked, and the first person foolish enough to agree. That book was called Naked Conversations, and we ended up predicting that social media would be good for business and would not be avoidable as a force of change. A few years ago, we wrote a second book about the convergence of 5 forces coming together. Both of these times, Robert was the guy that was out there first. He was way ahead of me, even though we both tend to look kind of weird in pictures at times. He was ahead of me because he's the tech geek. He goes out and he speaks to all these people. He gathers what a lot of you in this room do. He gathers intelligence. And then he does what other people in this room do. He takes patterns. And he comes back to me and says, I see a pattern. I think the world is going to change. And I go, I'm a journalist. You thinking the world is going to change? I come from the world where in school I was taught that if my mother tells me she loves me, I need a second source before I can confirm that. Robert comes back on a third trip after we have 2 successful books, after I'm enjoying basking in the glory of it. And he says, we've got something that's going to change everything more fundamentally than has ever happened before in digital history. And I said, what are you talking about? And he says, VR. And I said, I'm not into games. Well, then he started showing me evidence, and I kept trying to shoot holes in the evidence, and we ended up being convinced that virtual reality, augmented reality, what we call mixed reality technology, is about to transform just about everything on Earth. So what's the fourth transformation? Well, we started very quickly back in the belly of large organizations, government buildings, the enterprise, with the mainframe and computer scientists punching holes in cards. Then we found our way into this first transformation that went to the desktop of businesses where knowledge workers sat. Instead of punch cards, now they could type words into computers, and we got a little closer to digital technology. A little while after that, a couple of radical kids from Silicon Valley, where we come from, got together and created this thing called the Macintosh. And now you could point and you could click. And make icons do things on the computer. And this was so easy that anyone could use it, and anyone did. And computers moved into the home, and that transformed the way we work, the way we play, the way we govern, the way we gather information, the way we communicate. And that was pretty cool, but it wasn't mobile. Along came this thing called the smartphone. And now all you had to do was touch. You didn't even have to type. And now we're starting even to use this cute thing to talk, to get things done. But most important, we could bring it anywhere. And so now digital technology was with people everywhere. Its ultimate cure of, other than transforming society, commerce, government, everything else, was it ended boredom. Whenever we're standing in a supermarket line, we're playing, we're texting, we're doing some other. So now we come to the fourth transformation, which has just started. It's going to take a few years to play out, but it is already, the evidence is overwhelming, and our book is about telling you all the things and all the places. The change has already started. We report on how the biggest and most powerful tech companies on earth are already committing their futures to MR technology. And that's what the book is about. Robert?
Yeah. What we're about to get is a new user interface along with a few other things. Pfizer calls this a drug. Already VR at the University of Washington is being used with burn victims and is found to be more effective than morphine at solving pain. And the head of innovation at Pfizer told me they're doing research on ADHD, Alzheimer's, depression, pain, and a few other things, and they're finding good results. I went to a doctor down in South Africa, Shel Calder. She runs igym.com, and she's working with professional athletes. And the South African cycling team owner told me that his worst rider in terms of falls per race a couple of years ago took her program and just looked at the screen, and that made his eyes and perception system better. And today he's best on the race, on the team in terms of falls per race. So what does this new user interface look like? Well, this is a startup out of Paris, France, who is going to augment your TV when you're wearing these glasses. Now, you might have a physical screen in front of you like we do here, but with these glasses, you can augment a physical screen and put stuff around it or on top of it, but you can also get virtualized screens. So you can grab a screen and make it bigger if you want, or have a bunch of screens all over you, all around you. So think about working in a war room or whatnot. I've visited Nellis Air Force Base where you have huge screens in front of the room and rows and rows of computers. Those people can see a lot more detail than they used to be able to see, because they are going to have 20 screens around them, even though they're sitting at one desk. And that's the first thing, right? Now this HoloLens and then the glasses that are going to come over the next 5 or 6 years, and probably sooner. I'm getting a pair next year, I know, from a couple of companies that will show you. But these devices actually see your room. They see the room as a point cloud and convert that to either a mesh of polygons or a mesh of voxels, volumetric pixels. And then they can lay anything on top of these, right? So let's see what this looks like. And Shel, can you tell us a little bit about the generational shift we're seeing?
Yeah. The book looks mostly at technology, but when you talk about a transformation to society, you have to look at society. And very often when people, we know business decision makers more than a lot of you in this room, but they usually have a freeze frame of customers and their habits. And what is really, really important is technology is changing the behavior of younger generations. Anybody here who knows children, have children in their lives, know this. We renamed Generation Z, the term that demographers went into the Minecraft generation. Now we have kids who can code before kindergarten. Most important of all, though, they're thinking in 3D. We think in 2D. We are used to blueprints rather than 3D renderings. That's how the world is changing. This is changing their expectation of experiences. This is changing the way they will expect to learn and want to learn. This is changing how business is going to have to serve them when they come wandering in the aisles, if they bother to wander in the aisles. Maybe the store will now appear in the living room or on a table in a coffee shop, and then they can pick out what they want, click on it, and have it automatically sent to their homes.
What's very clear, and it, by the way, the expo hall outside shows this very clearly, is that our entire world is going to be copied. We're going to make a copy of this world over the next few years, and the glasses are going to let us see that copy. And it's not just you guys who are doing that. Uber's doing that for self-driving cars, so is Mercedes, Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Snap are all building this kind of copy of the world so that they can display it into the glasses. And your industry is using that for a whole bunch of reasons that you can see out in the expo hall. I know this is coming because we're starting to see it at the consumer level. This is a pair of glasses from Israel on the right. The Snap glasses are on the left. The Snap glasses don't have a screen. The one on the right has a 720p monitor in the glasses, and they're going to be costing around $500 to $700 retail, and they weigh about 4 ounces. So these are finally getting to the size where we can wear them all day long, and the batteries last long enough, and the information displays are good enough to do some really interesting things. Now, it might take a while for my dreams to come true, where I'm actually seeing a full-blown, immersed image around me. It might start out as a very small image in front of us, but time solves these problems. The tech industry is working hard on making these glasses good. So what did Mark Zuckerberg see?
Mark Zuckerberg sees a whole lot of stuff. But for me, I mentioned earlier that I always follow Robert in this technology. I actually had agreed to write this book when I didn't fully get what he was talking about. I just couldn't see people walking down the street with dark glasses that came out to here or tethered by long cords. But 2 years ago, I was watching F8, the Facebook developers conference, where Mark was talking about all this stuff. On slide 21, he said, this is how I see the future. This is how I see the social network evolving. And what there was this huge picture, like you see behind me, of something that looked very much like this. And these are something he called, simply without all the jargon of mixed reality, virtual, he called them smart glasses. And in that moment, I got his vision of the future, a vision that he got when he was at Stanford messing with some kids that created Oculus Rift, a now controversial company. This year, Zuck went further than that. He declared at F8 that Facebook, the world's largest social network, was now going to become an AR social platform. That sounds like just a playing with words, but it changes the position of Facebook. Facebook is the keeper of the world's largest walled garden, and the word platform implies openness, which says a good deal of how the world is about to change.
Yeah. When you're in Facebook Spaces, by the way, in Oculus Rift, it's really interesting to be inside Facebook this way. It's very different than viewing it on a mobile phone because you get as the pictures around you are as big as you want. They're as big as these monitors around you with these little glasses. It's pretty cool.
And the social thing is what people aren't getting yet, but what you can already do is I can throw a Frisbee from San Francisco that Robert will see and catch in his room in New York City.
Yeah.
And this is going to just continue. Robert?
By the way, some of the foundational technologies that are going to evolve over the next 2 to 3 years, in fact, this year, we're seeing 11 cities, according to Verizon, getting 5G. 5G gives us 35 gigabits per second down to these glasses with 2 millisecond latency, so that if I'm throwing a football at you or playing a simulation with you or working on a car or working on what everybody in this room does, we're going to be able to do that in very rapid succession without any latency. When you're using these glasses, or even your new phone that's coming out in September that has a 3D sensor on it, and there's a few phones that already have these 3D sensors. This is the Google Tango sensor that was shown off a couple weeks ago, walking through a hardware store. And you see how it's working in real time to know exactly where the device is in space and where everything is in the shopping mall or in the hardware store as you walk through. Now, Tim Cook has been saying, well, AR is a lot more important than VR. I still believe VR is very important. I play it a lot at home. But VR, you're in a black box and you can only play it at home or at work. But here's an example of a kid who built a VR door, where the glasses or the phone are going to understand the play areas around you, and you're going to be able to put virtual things in there. And then when you walk through the door, magic is going to happen. So let's watch that.
Come on. There we go. So now you can see there's actually a world in there that it's showing me. Hey guys, it's Paul. I'm here with the Hollow Herald again today for what we're going to kind of consider an app preview. So this app's not big enough to really do a review. It's just kind of cool idea that someone did with the technology, kind of to give you guys an idea of what you can do with the technology. So I'm just going to bloom. Then I'm going to open up. It's called Doco Demo Teleportation Door, and it's actually a really cool app. So I'm just going to place it. Okay. Then mute. So it was made in Unity, much like everything with HoloLens right now. Okay, so you can kind of hear it. It's pretty loud music. So I'm going to say play store. So I'm going to place it right in front of me. You can see how well that works. Play store. So now it's on the ground. It's a little short door, but it's pretty cool. So now we're just going to say open door. Open the door. Come on. There we go. So now you can see there's actually a world in there that it's showing me. So I'm going to get in there. And yeah, it's just like a cool little world someone made in Unity, where if you walk through that door that I just walked through, right there, you can see it's kind of like just showing what you can do with augmented reality. This is really mixed reality. It's pretty cool. In my opinion, this will kill, once the graphics on this stuff gets better, this will kill VR. And it's just incredible because really good AR will definitely beat VR. So, I don't know, it's just a really cool little app that kind of shows the capabilities. So now, after we're done looking around, I'm just going to head on out. And yeah, let's do that. I'm walking through the terrain kind of here, but you get the idea. Then walk out the door, no holograms, turn around, close the door. Close door. There we go. Door's closed. And
so you're getting an idea of how the user interface is about to change. You touch things with your hands using gestures. When I worked at Microsoft 10 years ago, Andy Wilson took me into his lab at Microsoft Research and showed me how computers could see gestures of hands. They used the term bloom there in that video to pull up a menu, and you use your fingers to drag screens and do things, right? A new kind of photography is coming as well. I hinted at it with Lytro, but here we're going to see a new kind of camera that actually is a grid of 50 cameras around you that's going to capture. And
the star of the show is a guy named George Takei. Obviously, this audience, after seeing Bill Shatner this morning, there's a few yesterday morning, fellow Trekkie fans. In Star Trek, he was Mr. Sulu, and among his many jobs was he was the keeper of the holodeck. So you can see why he's especially important to us.
So let's watch that.
Actiongram is an app that allows you to bring holograms into the real world and create and share videos.
Being able to incorporate visual effects into live action right there on set is a lot of fun and gets your brain going.
It's great to work with holograms in the first place. That's already cool, but the fact that there are these iconic characters makes it even cooler.
I'm going to start to stage and say, roll cameras, roll sound. You know, you want to kind of direct your performances. Action!
Welcome to Holland. Oh my. Goal! So go ahead and have a seat. And I see somebody there in an orange sweater.
Uh-oh.
That's me. This is fascinating. We talked about holograms on Star Trek, and to actually be doing that in reality today, it was a lot of fun. Technology and being a part of it at the cutting edge is a thrill that very few human beings get.
So it was really fun creating videos with the George Takei holograms because he's just hilarious.
Oh no, she didn't.
You get this like really high bar of talent that you normally wouldn't get to work with.
Love that.
It's not every day that you get a chance to work with George Takei.
Live action holograms that are three-dimensional and function within your actual three-dimensional space was mind-blowing.
I think it's a really exciting time for video creation and storytelling.
I shot the first 360 video at Coachella, a big music festival, 3 years ago. And my camera was 6 GoPro cameras. The whole rig cost about $6,000. And today, you're getting cameras like this one that cost $200 and do 360 better than that camera did, and live stream to Facebook off this. So I could turn this on and be live streaming to Facebook. It's pretty crazy what the technology is doing. It's about to change sports deeply, and it's about to change everything. Going to a shopping mall, your jobs are about to change because of these technologies and these glasses. But how is sports going to change?
At this point, every professional league in the world that I can find is already using virtual and augmented reality in one way or another. This isn't just the NFL, NBA, et cetera in America. Obviously the PGA, which I'll talk about, but it's also cricket, it's rugby, it's on and on and on. Colleges are starting to use it. Right now, most of it is helping to train athletes to do a better job. But what the big sweet spot is for sports, it's part of entertainment. What the big sweet spot is for the entire entertainment industry, all segments, is the attendee or the user or the fan experience. The PGA has created a 3D model of live courses where tournaments are. I keep forgetting where this one was. It was in Florida somewhere. I'm not a golfer. Go Warriors, but that's another story. And those lines you're seeing are where players on the course are doing their shots. You can zero in and see that player if you want. You can watch this and you can watch your favorite go from hole to hole to hole, or you can see everything that happens on the 17th hole and how each one did competitively. Either way you do it, we're changing how people enjoy sports. The key word in this is immersion. If I'm a Warriors fan, very shortly I will be able to join the huddle and stand there with my favorite players, listening to Coach Kerr, who came back, thank you, and find out what he's going to do in the next play. Same thing with football, same thing with baseball, anywhere you want to look.
So where this is really being shown off, hold on, Shel, is that the investments that you're going to need to make around you are going to be interesting. The NFL is putting sensors on their players and in the football itself to be able to display the sport in a new way. And same thing is going to be true of hotels and of what you guys do in terms of watching the world go by, right?
There's a third place that sports is using this now too, and that is in safety. Quarterbacks at Stanford no longer stand there practicing throwing the ball with linebackers coming at them, trying to kill them in practice. Instead, quarterbacks are protected by concussion by putting on VR helmets and practicing how to pass and play in a virtual game of the previous season while they're in their backyards. They don't get hit that way. They now are self-corrected. Concussions in football in school-age children are now turning to the same type of VR experience to make it safer for children. In education, which in the book we talked about a few real killer apps, and this one illustrates two, education and health, where there is a great deal happening. You can learn anything by being immersed in it better than having to memorize 1066, what really did happen at the Battle of Hastings. This is Case Western, where anatomy students are now learning the parts of human bodies through virtual reality. This is vastly preferable and better training than using frozen cadavers from out of the chest in the back room. In Massachusetts, a company called Doosan, which does VR and AR programs for Boeing and Tesla, so they know this stuff. One of the developers there had a daughter with a congenital heart problem. He's created a 24-foot in diameter virtual heart that heart surgeons can walk through with a 3D model of a patient's heart and make comparisons to find a congenital or a defect that hadn't been traceable through technology previously. This is the way the stuff is starting to pervade. In China, where despite their best efforts, they can't produce teachers as fast as people produce babies to be taught, they're creating virtual teachers. They're being tested in classrooms this year. Students get to choose an old, wise, sage teacher or a young and cute one if they want. But that teacher is learning the student. They're looking in the student's eyes. When the student gets bored, they give a pop quiz. If that doesn't work, they slow down the pace to the pace that makes the student comfortable, which is very different, yet they're still socializing in a class. So among the things we see a transition that makes us believe that even though right now Apple yesterday announced innovations for the phone, we think it's going to the headset. And I think the guy that convinced us the most is Jim Margraf, and Robert, you can talk about that.
We're building a new user interface, I said, right? It's a user interface that we're going to use our hands to control, our voice to control, our bodies to control. Like the new Apple glasses that are rumored to be coming out, you're going to do things to select things on the screen. But you're also going to use your eyes. And Jim Margraf started a company called iFluence, which got sold to Google. And he has built an eye interaction system, a user interface. Now, he only let me film part of his demo before he sold to Google. The part he didn't let me film was he said, pull some stuff out of your pocket. And I pulled some stuff out of my pocket and put it on the table. And the AI knew what it was looking at, right? It knew that was an iPhone 6s Plus that I had last year, and a menu popped off the iPhone 6s Plus and said, that's $699 on Amazon right now, would you like to buy it? I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, right? And I think both of our communities are going to get the same kind of AI because of what's going on in self-driving cars, where a car has to see a difference between a bush and a kid and a tumbleweed, and the car has to make a different decision when it sees that, right? So let's watch Jim Margraf demonstrate this. Now, watch the screen, because he's using his eyes to control the screen.
If I want to, I can change pages. Here's another a close-up of some electronics in our office, and I can go home when I want to. Over here is a medical application, and I'm gonna
all with your eyes.
All with my eyes. So I'm doing this solely with my eyes as fast as I can look. I'm not waiting, I'm not winking, I'm just looking. And here I've got the patient, I've got some allergy record, protocols, insurance, confidential information, current conditions. Why is he here? Well, he tells me he's got a pain in his foot. Notice I'm looking at this, but there's nothing happening on the screen. But when I decide, for instance, that I want to check out his x-ray, there it is. And now I want to go back because a couple screens ago there was some confidential information, which is here. And now it's going to take a picture of my eye. It grabs it, says, oh, who is that? Confirms that it's me. And in a moment you'll see that it'll give me access. I'm Jim, head of CEO and founder of iFluence. And there it is. I've got confidential information. When I want to, I can return home as fast as that.
That's amazing.
All with my eyes.
That's amazing. Eye sensors give us three things that he sort of demoed there. Biometrics, so when I put on the glasses, it's gonna know it's me. So we're gonna be able to change all of our security profiles in buildings and monitors and stuff like that. It gives us a new kind of rendering, a compression called foveated rendering, because our eye only sees sharp detail where it's actually looking right now, right? And the computer has a little tiny GPU, and it's being stressed to display the polygons that make up augmented reality. So if you only have to display polygons where your eye is actually looking, we get to flip Moore's law twice. It's like going 4 years in the future, and we get to use those small GPUs for more interesting things. And it gives us this new user interface where we're controlling the eyes. You played with this, you played some whack-a-mole?
Yeah, I played whack-a-mole. It was my first time, actually, and he put me through it by giving a nod like this, and I knocked out maybe 25. I thought I was doing pretty well. My neck hurt a little bit. Then he had me try it with eye interaction, and I knocked out 3 times as many in the same 2-minute period. So I became a Holocaust provider for moles, and I was pretty proud of that at the time. I'm not a Top Gun, but I can certainly knock out a virtual mole. I wanted to say one thing that's important about what he's doing and why we believe it will eventually, the handset will eventually be replaced by headsets. The eye is the fastest part of the external human body. It is the shortest route to the brain. Both those factors are very important to why we're going to use this. There are enormous conveniences in dealing hands-free, but more than that is that the brain is really the CPU of the human, and we're getting closer. A company called MindMaze, a Swiss company that got $1.2 billion in venture backing, has started playing around with this really silly looking thing that comes out to here and it's got 32 sensors strapped to the skull, but is helping patients with schizophrenia, Parkinson's, stroke trauma, amputees, to either recover or heal, or in the case of schizophrenia, is actually get cured. Parkinson's, they may actually cure at some point. So this isn't ready for primetime use. It may be ready for military applications, but it is an enormous phenomenon to have the brain interacting directly with digital technology. Yes, it's Borg-like. That's one end. The other end is retail. Last week, Walmart revealed that they were going to start using virtual reality to train 150,000 employees over the next year at 200 training centers. This is Walmart. The picture you're looking at here is Lowe's. These are not like, this isn't Sephora, which we'll talk about, or Apple, which everyone knows about. These are places for home improvement, for heavy-duty stuff, for bargain shopping, and it's only another step when the virtual reality use goes into the shopping. Right here, you're seeing at Lowe's a holodeck, like George Takai used to manage, except now you do it to pick bathroom fixtures and your wall floor tiles. You can move windows around in this virtual room and redesign your kitchen virtually before you actually buy it. The measurements are 100% accurate, so you don't do what I do, which is botch a job by being off by 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah. Sephora is another retailer using this. They're already on today's iPhone. You can download the Sephora app and aim it at your face, and it's doing augmented reality on your face, similar to how Snapchat or how Facebook Messenger puts these fun masks on your face that actually sees your face and puts a mesh around your face and puts stuff on top. And they're putting makeup on, and what's really interesting is the makeup is color matched to the physical product. So if you try pink lipstick on, it doesn't look good on me, by the way, but I can try it. And then I can buy it at the store as well. Now, if you go to the new Disneyland in Shanghai, China, the whole park was built in virtual reality. And the teams who built it told me that they saved a lot of money by doing that because they didn't need to build a physical model. And if I'm walking a stakeholder, let's say Shel is representative of the hamburger stores that are going to be throughout the park, I'm going to have to walk him through the park and show him where his hamburger stands are, and we're going to argue over whether they're in the right place or not. I can do that virtually, and I can move it with my hand, right? And it doesn't cost very much money. Ford cars are being designed this way, and I'm sure lots of other things in the world are being designed in VR or AR this way as well. Soon we're going to be walking through interfaces and touching things and interacting with things with glasses on like this, because it's cheaper to augment the world than it is to build physical things. And why does Shel need to be here in the future? In the future, he's going to be in Hawaii or some other place with a couple cameras around him, and he's going to be beamed into the stage here, and I'm going to be able to interact with him like this. I can already do this with VR. How many people have VR, by the way, have like an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive?
Very few.
Hands, very few, but more of you will have it by the end of the year because the new iPhone will do it, or Android is coming on strong.
How many of you have children who have used this stuff?
Yeah.
Many, many more.
Yeah.
Our point.
Soon you're going to have artificial things walking around the world around you, people or robots, artificial robots or real robots, because what really is going on is this is starting to map our world. It's building the mesh that we're going to need for navigating things around our world, right? And this gives you a taste of what it feels like to be in one of these social systems now with HoloLens, where you're working with other people who are dialing in, and we're changing things virtually. So,
yeah. So for 15 years, Robert and I have been doing what you're saying. We write a book and we go around and talk. Every few years, we write a book, then we go around and talk. We've become convinced that this time, the transformation that we have written about is going to take 5 to 10 years to fully roll out, which means that we don't have another book in the works. We're transforming. We're now going from writing about this stuff to offering our services as consultants. We formed Transformation Group a couple of months ago, and we're trying to help big brands figure out how to understand this stuff and then make the transformation they're going to have to make before their competitors do it, or more important, before their customers expect that kind of experience.
Yeah. It's a pretty big trend that's going to hit us, both in consumer and in government. And you're already getting tastes of it if you walk around the expo hall and see the photogrammetry that's being done from satellites. You guys know this. It's the consumers haven't seen what you've seen for a few years already. And soon our world is about to change. And that's what our message is to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, sure.
I think we have time for a couple of questions, real quick. First, Shel, I have this one question here. I want you to read it. Just going to make you read it.
Go Cavs.
Come on, Shel.
I'm sorry, I don't read Chinese.
It says go Cavs.
What's a calf?
Quick question. I know in your book you talk about...
I'm sorry, somebody's dribbling on the floor back.
They beat us last year, so don't go there.
In your book you talk about the Minecraft generation coming up.
Yeah.
They know how to code. So here's the question. Is there any hope that the Minecraft generation will eventually want to work for stodgy government organizations in the intelligence community?
I think so. I mean, my son's 22 years old and he's going into service. He's going to be a cop in New York City. And I let him watch 9/11 in real time. And so that made a deep impression on him and what he wanted to do with his life and give it back to service of others. And I bet there's other kids out there like him as well.
Yeah, but you know, if we don't figure out how to incorporate this kind of technology into the actual work of the intelligence community, they're not going to want to stay in a place where they can't use their passion and their real skills.
I think your community is going there already because of the data that you are studying from around the world, right? And the data problems that are coming are going to be immense. We are going to map out every surface in the world at 1 millimeter resolution at someday, soon. How big is that database?
It's huge, isn't it?
By the way, I spoke at Trace 3 a couple of weeks ago, and a guy said they are now buying data appliances that have 8 petabytes of data in a box about this size, a shoe box.
Wow.
When I worked at Microsoft, that used to be a semi-truck trailer,
Yeah.
and I met a guy who did your job in the 1970s. He said they had a huge 3-story computer that had 1/1000th the data of our iPhone.
I want to give a one sentence before she pulls the hook on
Yeah,
this.
so we're at
The question said hope, and when we look at the situation, without getting political about it, we have people using technology and getting ahead of the government. That makes a situation that history says must change.
Right.
How it changes remains to be seen. There's cause for both concern and hope, which is a good word to end our time.
Right. Well, speaking of hope, by the way, will mixed reality get rid of PowerPoint?
I created the word PowerPoint, and I'd like to now say in front of the entire intelligence community, forgive me for that.
All right, let's have another hand for Robert Scoble.
Thank you.
Shel Israel, thank you very much.